Fresh off hitting the pick five and the pick four today, Vinny Blonde and I are looking at Friday's late pick three. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Trust the Profits YouTube page. I am Colin Sheehan, CSheehan45 on Twitter, joined by Vinny Blonde at Picks by Dynasty on Twitter. Vinny, good day for you at Saratoga.
Yeah, finally had some string of luck in a multi-race sequence. Hit the early pick 5 and pick 4, so hit a lot more than I thought it would. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah, nice $1,000 score. You can never be too upset about that. And I think we're starting to string some success together here. I had a nice winner on Saturday in the first race, the 5, which I couldn't pronounce until I heard the announcer, K by see you later, not spelt that way, but the way he pronounced it was pretty nice. And that was one that I had put out there because I saw the trouble that horse had been in. And something that I'm really adding to my repertoire here is race replays, and I think it's done really well for me finding some of those winners, and that was exactly what happened on that race. And I have a couple replays that we'll bring back today as we look at the late pick 3 for Friday, August 19th. And Vinny, you picked this sequence out, and I started going through it, and I was like, this is a really fun little pick 3 we have to look at.
Yeah, it's got 2 stakes races with a claiming race sandwiched in between, but both at least one stakes race I think is going to be pretty fairly evenly bet on the board. So I think that's pretty good for a multi-race sequence, at least to like start. I think you're going to get every bit of, I don't think anybody's going to be like 9-5 in the 9-5 or like 6-5 in the pick threes to start. And then the last race, I mean your favorite might be 7-5, but that middle leg with the middle leg in there, I think this thing should pay pretty decently for a pick 3. So
Yeah, yeah, and you got competitive races, so let's jump into it. We'll start here with race 8, if I can get it to pull it up here for you. So this is race 8, the Summer Colony, on Friday, August 19th at Saratoga, running a mile and an eighth over the dirt. Vinny, you got a single, and I also have a single, but we are not on the same horse. So where'd you go?
I went with the number 1 Army Wife. I've been a big fan of Army Wife. I know she's run against some of these in the past and hasn't quite gotten there. She finished behind Eva Evante, I believe is how you pronounce it,
Mhm.
and Bonnie South last November at Churchill. Race was in the slop. I don't believe it's going to be a sloppy track today. She's just improved, and I love her tactical speed. In the Molly pitcher, nobody was beating search results that day. And the way that track was playing, I know later on in the card, Cyberknife closed in the Haskell to win up the rail. But one, the rail was where you wanted to be that day, and two, you wanted to be near the pace. And the note says bobbled break. She almost fell to her nose, even though she broke. She ended up breaking, like, I think she broke second technically, and then others passed her, so she sat fourth. But search results was right up there with the pace and just ran away with the race. And the horse that finished in front of her, who's also in here, leader of the band, sat 2 lengths in front of her the entire race and beat her by about that. So it was honestly like a merry-go-round. So I'm willing to forgive that effort. I also really like that Tyler's getting back on. Tyler won on her 2 back. So I do like that. And yeah, I think she's one of those improving 4-year-old fillies.
Yeah, and I looked at her. When I looked at this race, I did write down that she's a Grade 2 winner. That's something that I like to pay attention to. Is when you get into these stakes races, differentiating the Grade 1s, Grade 2, and Grade 3 winners, and that's something where I will start kind of to make my decisions on who I'm going to go with. So this horse does have a Grade 2 win under her belt. The one thing that I looked at here, and I'll be honest, this isn't something I really pay attention to a lot, um, but it stood out to me because this race is non-Lasix. And I went back and looked because she has those big breaks of races where she was not on Lasix. And I saw that the best performances from her, 3 of her wins were on Lasix. Is that something that you kind of even pay attention to? Am I looking too much into this, do you think?
I mean, I do. I mean, it's definitely something to look into. I mean, her last 2 races have been on Lasix. So her only race on the without Lasix this year was a 3rd place finish. It was at a mile and a 16th, which is also part of the reason I like her. She seems to really like this mile and an eighth distance, 4 starts, 2 wins, and a third at this distance. But last year she raced a majority of last year without Lasix, and she was third behind Malafat and Clairiere in the Alabama here last year. She was third in the Cotillion last year to Clairiere and Obligatory. She was fourth in the Fall City behind the 2 other runners in here, but that was in the slop. So, she's run well without Lasix, and her if you really pay attention to speed figures, her highest buyer is a 92 in the Alabama without Lasix. So, I'm not too concerned. She's not one of those what I'm usually concerned about that is, like, a horse has, like, 3 straight, 90 buyer efforts on Lasix, but then it's races off Lasix, it's just running, like, high 70s. It's like, okay, like this horse probably needs Lasix. So I'm not too concerned about it, but like, if she runs flat on Friday, like, okay, like shame on me for singling a horse that's run on Lasix the last 2 times.
Yeah, so that was what kind of stood out to me, and I felt like it was a pretty tough field as I started to try and separate them. When I first went through this, the thing that I mentioned was I like to find those horses that have won at higher grades. So I did go with the three and Vantante, who has two grade two wins. The concern I have is there's a 5 month layoff, but has had six workouts in a pretty consistent, every 6 to 7 days, including two bullets, both at Saratoga. So the horse has been training at Saratoga. Same horses that you had mentioned. She's lost to quite a few times. She dares the Devil, Latruska, um, beat Bonnie South, who is 5-2 on the morning line. It's probably going to be between the 3 and the 7 for morning line or for favorite, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and I honestly think it should go to the 3. I understand the love for Bonnie South, but she hates winning, and I'm sure I'm gonna put her right in the winner's circle here. But boy, she hates she hates winning. I mean, like her 3-year-old year, she ran, she won the allowance and then she won the Fairground Oaks. And then after that, you got to go all the way to her 4-year-old year where she won her debut over Royal Flag, who ended up being pretty good. But that was really that was really it. Like she does not like to win. She does not like to win races. And she keeps getting bet. And it's like at some point, and like, if she's a horse at this point. If she beats me at a short price, she beats me at a short price because she hates winning. So I'm not using her, but it wouldn't shock me if she won. But I think it's too short of a price. I'd much rather use your 3.
Yeah, the one thing that concerns me about my three that doesn't concern me about Bonnie South, I use Brisnet, as I've mentioned in the past here. Two races over the Saratoga Dirt, 105 speed figure. In those two races, two second places. The three has not run at Saratoga. I'm sorry, she did run once, but it wasn't as flattering as what we've seen from Army Wife, who you're interested in the 7 Bonnie South. I just continue to convince myself more and more about that horse for the course with Saratoga. Like, I just love the horses that have done well at Saratoga, and that would be one thing that concerns me about this three for sure. The other thing that concerns me is, as the one I told you when I was in person, Le Peru. I'm always on them on the wrong times, and this is not on the turf, so it's like I know I'm going to put my single here on Le Peru, and I'm gonna watch my ticket go down the toilet, and I'll be cursing him that I'm never putting Le Peru in a single again.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and you
and
got
that
Brad
was
Cox on the 7 too, so that's something that's certainly going to attract some attention
yeah,
for
and
sure.
and that's my thing. Like I'm gonna try to be like if I honestly had to add a second horse on this ticket, I would probably take a swing and go to the 5, the Shug McGahee horse, 5 first to act, lightly raised, coming off a big win, at an allowance level. and it seems to have tactical speed and gets Irad. That would
Yep.
be that would be the horse I would rather use over using Bonnie South, who has had plenty of chances at a short price and just hasn't gotten it done. Even here at Saratoga, she's 0 for 2 with 2 seconds. The 2 seconds were good seconds, but they were still seconds. She's 0 for 5 at the distance with 4 seconds and a third. So she's never won at the distance. Like you said about your three, Leparoux is riding. Okay. And it, I don't know. Some of this horse either shows up and like runs them off their feet on the front end, in my opinion, or she ends up being flat. So
So you,
I'd rather take a shot with the five first act. Yeah.
So you'll see the note I have here. The 5 is a horse that I usually love watching those speed figures just continue to climb 79, 82, 86, 94. I put on the top there, what is the ceiling? Because you might not know it yet. And I've highlighted the last 2 races, all the trouble that she had
Yeah.
with the bumped at the break, bobbled at the start. Horses I usually love, and I think I'm going to pass. So if you haven't put the other one in the winner's circle, then I've certainly just put this horse in the winner's circle. And since I think we both agree that the 5 is probably a good horse to use underneath or to probably add in your ticket, the reason I had to single in this race is because the last race is a 2-year-old race with a lot of options, I think. So I went a lot longer in that last race, and that was what forced me to kind of take a stand here with the 3. I think we both agree if you want to add that 5 to your ticket, that's not a bad place to go. Anything else you want to cover on this race?
I don't think so. I think it should be a fun little Friday stakes race. And I wouldn't be like honestly, I think some of these horses are running here because in 2 weeks, Clairiere is running, and I think these are a lot of the horses that they don't want to run against her.
Makes sense. Race 9, we go to the turf for a mile and a 16th on the inner turf. I had a couple horses that I liked here. One thing that really stood out to me, and Brisnet does a good job of this, is showing the track bias at the distance on this surface. And it popped to me that with 22 races on the inner turf, 8.5 furlongs, 82% of those winners have come from off the pace, either the late or the stalking style type. And when you look at this race, I immediately kind of started with those horses that are coming from off the pace just because of how that track bias has been playing out so far. Am I wrong in starting there?
No, I mean that's how this inner turf has been playing this meet. It's been playing. Even though lately I feel like it has been playing a little more towards inside speed, but I mean those are the horses, and that's why I personally like Saratoga. Is even on the main track, a lot of your horses that win come from right off the pace, rather than some of like the tracks out west where it's first to the lead is first home.
So the first, as I mentioned when the open here, one thing I've started to use to my repertoire a lot more is race replays. And so the horse that I'll start here of one of those horses that is coming from off the pace is the 2 Radiant Gem with John Velasquez up. 3 back and 2 back, 2 wins. And then you look at the last race here at Saratoga on July 29th, a 10th place finish, 7.5 lengths behind. So you immediately are kind of thinking what happened there, especially when it's a maiden claimer win, and then to stepping up in class. Maybe you're just looking at it on paper, you're thinking this horse doesn't belong. But I'm going to pull up the little bit of the race replay, and this horse is the 8, and I want you to pay attention to that 8 where he gets bumped at the beginning. He's got the blue helmet there on the inside, finds a little bit of a pocket, and suddenly right there is going to get shuffled around again. We get a replay here again. Look at this 8. Squeezed, pushed. Finds a pocket. When he finally finds a pocket, he gets into even more trouble, as you'll see right here. Kicked up. Now this is the stretch run. Widest of them all. Showing some run. I know he's far back. If you're not going to be able to see that from this angle. But he's showing some run here in the stretch. He's all widest of them all. And look at this. You got 2 horses that are creeping out on him. And watch. Look at this. Pushed again. So this race you kind of can just throw out, in my opinion. I don't think that you can take much off of that 10th place finish. The other horse that was in that race was the 5, Rosemary Potatoes, which is a pretty great name. But if I'm going to at least start there, which is where I did, and look at those two horses, I'm taking the 2 over the 5 every day, especially at higher odds.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That too actually was my top pick last time out in that race where she had all the trouble in the world. So that was bad. But I'm gonna get a better price on her today. So yeah, she was on my bet backlist as well. So I think everything you pointed out there, as long as Johnny can get a good break on her and get a good get a good early trip on her, I think she's gonna be dangerous down the stretch.
The other horse I went with was the horse right to her outside, the 3 with Irad Ortiz, Hatari. Um, that last race was a really strong race. I went back and watched what she had done in that race, edging away, just continuing to put pressure. And one thing that I had tweeted out on a couple days ago, Sean Patrick Nolan, who so many people are familiar with, I stood with him at the finish line when I was up there, and he said, as we get later in this meet, pay attention to the horses from Churchill Downs who have come here and are starting to settle in. So they're second and third times back. That's exactly what we have here. A horse that ran twice at Churchill came back and won at Saratoga. A lot of those horses that have been winning didn't perform as well in their first race at Saratoga in this meet and came back to win their second one. So that even makes this horse even more attractive to me. And as I said, I'm looking for a horse who's done well off the pace. Uh, just looking through the running lines on Hatari, there's a continual late presence from this horse to make some noise. So that's where I'm going in this leg. I'm going 2-3, and that's who I'm hoping to get me by. Hopefully, I'm not forgetting anybody. How about you?
I'm also using the 2-3. I am also going to throw in the 8 horse though. Judge Judith. He gets a big jockey upgrade today to Jose Ortiz, who I know he's not having the best of meets, but he's still running. Oh, he's still riding okay. Definitely not as good as he has in the past, but this horse wants to be on the lead or like pressing. So this horse is going to be outside speed. As you said, most of the horses that have won going this distance on the inner turf have been that stalking type. That's where I think this horse is going to be. He gets a jockey upgrade. Horse is 2 for 3 at the distance with 1/3. Is coming in off of 3 straight wins. It has been against lesser competition, but the speed figure wise, this horse lines up with the best of them. The she's got a 74 last out buyer, which I believe might be, yeah, it's the highest last out buyer out of the entire field. So like her speed figures fit right in with everybody else's. She is stepping up in class, but she gets a jockey upgrade and her run style fits. So yeah, if 9-2 morning line, I hope we get that. I would hate if this horse gets bet down. It's one I'm probably going to regret having on my ticket. But if I get 5-1 on a horse that should be right on the lead, I'd rather have that. So I'm going
What
3 deep here using 2, 3, and 8.
Yeah, what scared me about the 8, and the 8 is the second prime power on the Brisnet form. What scared me on the 8 is that you have the speed inside to the 7. So how wide is the 8 going to get pushed with the 7 going with her? And the other thing that I immediately looked at was all the maiden claimers and how long it took in order to break her maiden at a level that's much lower than a lot of the other horses in here. Not only lower, but I struggle with these horses from not necessarily Tampa, but Monmouth, and shipping in from Colonial Downs. Um,
Yeah.
so I just it scared me away, and I'd rather use my bullets in the next leg, which I think is going to be a trickier one to get through. And I will let this horse beat me, especially at 9-2.
Yeah, and like I did take a while off. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those races though were on the dirt. 2 of them were trying to be on the turf, but look, they were taken off. But like the first three races as a 2-year old, I could just draw a line through those. They raced this horse on the dirt 3 times. Clearly didn't like the dirt. Uh, on the turf, the horse is 6 starts, three first, 1 second, and 2 thirds. So she's never missed the board on the turf. So that might be it. But yeah, like you said, if horse is stepping up in class, there are some red flags. So 9-2 kind of is a short price to take on a horse with some red flags, but I'm willing to roll the dice on this one. I like Jose a lot on the turf. So
Yeah, that's a great point. And the one is also another horse who has had a little bit of the trying all different surfaces, synthetic, dirt, turf. The turf races have continued to get better. The note on the last one said bumped at the start, which is that race that the 3 was in that I liked. The bump at the start wasn't as bad as the line kind of may make you think without going back and watching the race. So that was why I ended up staying on that 3 Hatari. The other horse that I thought was interesting in here was the 6 Diva Ready. One of those lightly raced, broke the maiden after the second at Delaware, went up to Woodbine, came back to Saratoga. Another running line that says bumped at the start. I again went back and looked at that. It really wasn't as terrible as you might be led to believe there. Did you have any interest in the 6 with Rudy Rodriguez, who's only got 1 win?
yeah, Rudy's still ice cold, and my main concern about this one is this one turned for home and looked like a winner. Pratt, this horse looked like he was gonna just open up when they turned for home, and she didn't. She finished second that day. Pratt doesn't stay on here. Franco takes them out, which I like. Franco's having a great meet, but he's not Pratt. I think it's a jockey downgrade for a horse that should not have lost its last race. I'll let it beat me at 3-1, especially with Rudy being 1 for 50. I think that's a perfect underneath use horse, the key, but I'm not using him.
Very good. So we're both 2-3. Vinny likes the 8 as well. And that will bring us to the last leg, as I mentioned, which is the race for 2-year-olds, 5.5 furlongs. This is the Skidmore Stakes on the turf. A difficult race. You have a lot of horses who basically came out and broke their maiden pretty quickly and have shown some ability. To me, this is always a dangerous race to try and handicap. Uh, who do you like here?
Turf stakes at Saratoga. I'm sticking with Chad Brown. I
Makes sense.
I know it's chalk, but uh Oxymore looked amazing on debut. Never there was never a doubt. Went I mean, not super quick, but went almost 22 flat and then went 44 and 9. This horse goes 22 like that again, it's just gonna make her very dangerous, or make him very dangerous. Sorry, I just think this horse is gonna improve second time out. And the other Chad also stalked earlier this meet here, actually appraise, and won pretty easily in my opinion. I only won by a head, but that race seemed like it was going to be a key race. There were some good horses, it seemed like, that came out of that race. So I think that 8 can get a similar trip as it did last time. Both have good connections. The 8's owned by Klarovich. The 3 is owned by Michael Dubb. So I'm gonna go connections play here. Go with the Chads.
Yeah, can't fault you there. I had them both on my ticket as well. The only time I really pay pretty close attention to final times is these 5.5 furlong sprints, because it's a lot easier for me to just look at the final time and know that it's a quick race. The 8 ran that win in 1 minute and 2 seconds, which is easily the best of these horses. So that was something that certainly stood out to me. Um, the 3, I like that cutting back from 6 furlongs to 5.5 furlongs. I think that's only going to help this horse. So I have them both on my ticket as well. One horse that I looked at is the 4, No Nay Hudson by No Nay Never. Bumped in the break in the last race, and we'll give you one more race replay here of No Nay Hudson is race here, if I can add it. This is the 4 horse. with the easily shuffled back and the yellow there, and was pretty quickly out of this race. If you watch this four right here, squeezed and immediately is last breaking out into this race. Okay. What I want you to watch is this race comes around this turn. Watch the move this four makes to split horses and get up and make a run here to try and win this race. And she ends up finishing fourth. But look at this right here. Boom, right between the three, splits the six, comes to the outside. I didn't finish off the race replay here, but right there, I mean, that's a great move considering how far back and how squeezed she was to start that race. Makes a run up to second, but then fades. But I think it just took too much out of her trying to make up for what happened at the beginning of that race. So None Hudson is somebody that I am certainly going to have on my ticket as well. Another horse that I looked at was the two. I looked up the jockey standings for 2-year-olds. Pratt is 31% right now with 2-year-olds. And this horse had a speed figure that fits when it moved to the turf. First race was at Churchill on the dirt, showed nothing, switches to the turf, puts up an 80 Brisnet speed figure out of Mendelssohn, who's 27% first time on the turf, 17% turf overall. Was a horse that I certainly did not want to leave off my ticket as well. Any thoughts on either of those two?
I like the two a lot more than I like the four. I don't like when Ward goes dirt to turf with some of these horses, and I know he does it every now and again. He'll go dirt to turf with them, but the third, like the four, his third start is going dirt to turf. I feel like usually when Ward does that, he'll do it in the second start. I don't. It might just be me. It's kind of like when Chad Brown throws him on dirt after a couple turf starts that don't work out. It's like, all right, like is this really like is this just like a last ditch effort to see like if this horse can actually be a sprinter or not?
Mhm.
That's what the workouts are great on the turf, and like the pedigree says turf. So like that would not it would not surprise me in the least. I hate when he does this.
Yeah, it's
So
a good point because that's his
yeah.
specialty, right? He's
Yeah,
moving.
and he's a turf sprint like turf sprints. Turf sprints are his specialty. And I know every now and again he does this and he has one that's that freaks. And this could be it. But I'm not 100% sold that this one is it. That move that you showed on the replay, it was a very good move. I like when horses make middle moves like that, but it's not like the horse is adding distance. The horse is going to have to vie for the lead because there is other speed in here. So I don't know. It's a pass for me at the price. I'd rather use the two with Pratt. Pratt is killing it with these with 2-year-old races. Not a fan of the. It is a big step up in class coming from what track is that? Is
Is
that
it
Ellis Park?
Ellis Park? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a huge. I hate horses coming from Ellis Park running here. I really do. I've never been a fan. They don't win a lot, in my opinion. Every now and again, you'll get one. This one could be it. Ran very well on the turf, first time turf. Mendelssohn is great. I'd honestly probably use if I had to. I would use this one defensively because of Pratt, but that's it. Um, the only other one I'm interested in is the six, who I know you don't have. Noble Huntsman. Horse broke his maiden here. Looked very impressive doing it, and I think he's only gonna second time turf. There's other speed in here. He's gonna be able to sit right off the speed again today. He had a big move turning for home. I think this horse fits. Not a huge not like a huge fan of Castellano, but he's been riding great this meet, so I'm gonna keep riding. I'm gonna keep riding him here. So he would be my third horse I'm adding onto my ticket with the Chad Browns.
Yeah, and you convinced me in the pre-show to add him as well, so I did. And
Oh,
the only other horse I went with here was the 5 Private Creed. A lot of the points you just made have me kind of reconsidering here because it's another horse coming from Ellis Park. The reason I added this horse was seeing the jockey upgrade from Byron Hernandez to Ricardo Santana. Santana and Asmussen is a combo that I always pay attention to. And so I'm going to give this horse a shot because the speed figure fit. A little bit light, does definitely need to step up, but this is the reason I kind of went short in the early two legs so that I could cover myself here because I felt like this was the race um, that I thought I could get a price, but you've kind of dashed my hopes here with your insistent Chad Brown just wins on the turf in the stakes at Saratoga, and I'm probably being stupid, probably trying to outsmart myself here. But that's what we've decided to go with.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I don't think like if you're gonna try to beat Chad here when he doesn't have Irad on him is probably your best chance, and he doesn't get Irad on him here. He's got Jose on one, he's got Manny on the other. Does Irad even have a mount? I don't think Irad even has a mountain here, which is
Oh,
weird. So like that's say, and that's where like if you're gonna try to beat Chad, I feel like a lot of people are gonna try to beat Chad in this race. And it could work. It could work. Chad is definitely better with horses going longer. I don't think there's any secret about that. A he's not the turf sprinter trainer, but I think between those two, he's got one that's going to gun it and he's got one that's going to come from the back. So I'm going to use both in case the rabbit gets loose. And then I really like this. I really like Noble Huntsman. So he would probably be my top pick in here if I was ranking horses.
so some nice prices on that ticket. Both of our tickets are very affordable. Mine's only $12. Vinny is only $9. We have it going across the ticker there for you, but I will read it out. I am going to single the 3 in the first leg on the late pick 3 Friday. So I'm going 3 in the first leg, 2-3 in the middle leg, 2-3-4-5-6-8 in the final race at Saratoga on Friday. Vinny?
I'm going with 1 with 238 with 368 for a total of $9. It's a small ticket, but it fits right, especially if you want to piggyback it into like a pick 5 for that late sequence on Friday. It's very affordable to do, especially if you're adding horses in the first couple legs. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. We were very close last Friday with our second by a head, second by a nose double.
Yep. Again, we're gonna get one. We'll get one again. We started off on fire and we've fizzled a little bit here,
Yeah.
but at least on the personal side, we've been making some cash from the scores we've had.
Yep, definitely. I still got a couple thousand to go to catch you after that early pick 5. But today definitely helped with a pick 5 that I thought was only going to pay a couple hundred, paid over 700. So that was exciting.
Those are the best ones. Great to see you again. Next week, we got some excellent content for the Travers Stakes. We're going to do a little spin the wheel and see which horse you get and try to make a decision, a good point and a bad point on that horse. And then if you would lay $100. So a lot of content coming next week for the Travers Stakes. I've been posting a little countdown of the last winners, which you commented that you had the one I posted today with the dead
Oh
heat.
yeah, the dead heat that I was kind of panicking honestly during that dead heat because I had Alpha over most of the field, but I only played it I only played him with a couple horses over him. So I had golden ticket, but I really was not sure that's how it worked because I had Alpha for more money on top than the other way around. The other way was kind of just a saver ticket. So that was worrisome, but it ended up being good.
Yeah, that's nice. You get it both ways.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was crazy. That was crazy, and I think that was the first time I ever hit like a dead heat race. So it was like the first time I knew like, oh, I got it both ways. That's cool, and it paid very well for both ways because golden ticket was a huge price.
yeah, I want to say 33-1 if I remember correctly when I was looking
Yeah,
back
it
at the
was
stats.
something. Yeah, and like I still watch that replay every now and again. And I'm just like, how didn't Alpha just bury this field? Because
I know, and
he turned for home like 1-5, and then like he hit he killed a couple strides in the stretch. He was like, oh no, he's idling.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
idling bad.
It was good. So I'll keep putting that out for the memories as we get closer to Travis. And here we go. It was good to see y'all, and I'll see you next week, Vinny.
Yeah, see you next week.